father is somewhere in there. I've saved you once.
You know, these days I'm not the biggest Ninjago fan. I find a lot of its current sets to be boring, shallow, and just to be revamps of things we've already seen 1,000 times before. But I wasn't always of this opinion. As a kid of the mid-2000s, I grew up living and breathing Ninjago. I remember one time being on a holiday on a Spanish island and specifically checking whether they had German TV channels so I could watch the new episodes coming out that week. But over time I lost interest, and today I want to talk about the turning point of Ninjago, going from great sets with an even greater show to what it has become today, the Stone Samurai arc. Now, to give some context for the younger ones, or the ones just not as knowledgeable in the whole matter, the Stone Samurai arc, or to give it its real name, the Legacy of the Green Ninja, took up the whole second season of Ninjago. It aired from July to November 2012 and was accompanied by 7 sets, LEGO released in early 2013. I want to divide this video into 2 parts. First I'm going to talk about the show and what happened there, and in the second one I want to talk about the sets released for it. Something important that has to be addressed though before we get into everything is the state Ninjago was in 2013. As I talked about in my first short ever, LEGO themes can always be classified in one of 3 categories, determined by their lifetime. A theme either runs for 1 year, like the original Toy Story or Pirates of the Caribbean, for 3 years, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or endlessly, like Star Wars or City. Ninjago was originally meant to be a part of that second category, meaning to come to an end in 2013, with Legacy of the Green Ninja being its last big crescendo. After fans got wind of this though, there was a huge outrage set LEGO's way, after which they decided to continue the theme. This helps us understand why the show felt finished at this point, and why some of the following seasons may have struggled finding their footing after its supposed ending. But now that I keep talking about the ending, let's just get started on that. When watching the final episodes of Season 2, they do have a feeling of conclusion to them. The stakes are higher than ever, and every character has been set up and well-rounded over the first seasons. The Overlord was truly menacing, and Lloyd's quest to take him down had me, as a child, glued to the TV every time a new episode aired. So let's talk about the characters first, more specifically Lloyd and his father. Lloyd started off as this egotistical, big-headed child we meet in the first episode of Ninjago, and he's just truly unlikable. Following his first confrontation with the ninjas, he releases a few of the snake tribes until Sensei Wu takes him in, and he starts to gain a sense of compassion for the first time. Later he's revealed to be the Green Ninja, and understanding what this means for him, that he has to fight his own father, he starts maturing a lot faster, at some point quite literally when he has to sacrifice his youth to defeat the Grundle.
What happened? We're not kids anymore.
It worked!
They are the real ninja.
But what about Lloyd?
I'm older.
But he only really comes to terms with his destiny after his father, Garmadon, was consumed by the Overlord and nearly kills him in their first fight. This is probably the most mature Lloyd we've seen so far, and truly feels like a hero meant to save the world from his worst enemy, his own father. Garmadon was introduced to us as pure evil, but over the first season we get to see why he's so evil, and we're also shown his compassionate side, how he cares about Lloyd for example. But he's again drawn to the dark and can't resist it, even though he tries, until he's ultimately consumed by it, starting to turn the civilians of Ninjago City into soulless shells and transforming into something non-humanoid. In my opinion, something great it did before the final fight was pick the ninjas off one by one, so Lloyd had to face Garmadon on his own. On their way up the skyscraper in Ninjago City, first Cole, then Jay get corrupted by the Overlord. Zane stays behind to buy the ninjas more time, but eventually he's defeated as well. Kai and Lloyd get held up by the already corrupted Nia, and in a poetic act, Kai stays behind to fight his own sister, so Lloyd can defeat his father. This creates stakes. We as the viewer know that Lloyd has to defeat the Overlord if he wants to save his friends. Previously they were stuck on Dark Island, but at least they were safe. Now everything depends on Lloyd, and let me tell you, watching this as a kid, there was nothing more epic than seeing Lloyd transform to the Golden Ninja and fight the Overlord. Even from today's perspective, it was epic and probably some of the best writing we've seen in the show ever. Ultimately he defeats his father, and when the dust has settled, the ninja reunite, and to everyone's surprise, Garmadon, no longer evil, emerges from the rubble, giving us a happy ending. The show up to this point really had the advantage of just having an overarching villain, while the new ones are more season specific. Again, all of this can be traced back to Ninjago's original runtime, but that's all I'm gonna say about the show. Let's get onto the second part of the video. As I mentioned earlier, LEGO released a total of 9 sets to accommodate the second season of Ninjago, and even after 10 years, these still hold up fantastically. I feel like a lot of new Ninjago waves rely way too heavily on mechs and dragons. Don't get me wrong, they look great 90% of the time, but at some point it just gets repetitive. Stone Samurai had quite a diverse wave though. Of course, you had a dragon and a mech, but in between those you had some really interesting builds like the warrior bike or the garmadon. And sets like Cold's Earth Gorilla and the Temple of Light are still iconic today, with the latter featuring one of the coolest mech designs in my opinion. The character designs in this wave were also just fantastic, with every Stone Samurai looking really detailed, and the ninja suits were just on a whole nother level, especially compared to the most recent ones. And of course we can't forget Kozu, who still has one of the best designs we've seen in Ninjago ever. The red and white just work so well together. To come to a conclusion now, I hope you understand now why I adore the sub-theme of Ninjago. There's a lot of nostalgia involved, but that'll always be there. In my opinion, Ninjago should have ended after the Stone Samurai arc, since it currently just feels like a waste of resources. But tell me in the comments what you think. If you liked this video, remember to hit the subscribe button, and until next time, goodbye.